The Search Podcast USA Edition series is sponsored by PGC. PGC are the longest-serving employer of record in North America and can compliantly engage contractors across both the US and Canada on behalf of staffing and recruitment businesses. Our turnkey solution offers a unique access point to the largest staffing market in the world. To find out more, visit us at pgcgroup.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliott Manning, the Managing Director of Cayman Recruitment UK and US. Continuing on this theme this month, February, I'm talking to people in the industry who are experts in their field. You're always getting asked lots of different questions and, looking for, help and advice and contacts that can help with certain things. So this week I've got a very special guest who is part of a subject matter that I think is asked of me the most, but I won't take that surprise away. I'll let you do your introduction, mate.
Perfect. Well, thank you. For anyone who's watching this, I think it will be given away by the background here, but my name's Arvinder Ubhi. I'm an attorney with Ellis Porter. We're a US immigration law firm. We have offices in the US, and I manage our UK office where we work with companies who are looking to expand into the US or operate in the US as well. So we're close to about 200 employees across both offices, and we work with companies from a variety of different sizes, from startups all the way to large multinational companies, and we really work with companies in any industry as well. So it's a pretty exciting space, and I think over the course of the next year it's also going to get pretty spicy as well, depending on what happens politically in the US.
Absolutely. I think 2022, it was a buoyant year with a lot happening and a lot of more businesses going over there, regardless of whether they're recruitment or not. Last year, I reckon maybe it slowed down a little bit or kind of wasn't as busy or as buzzy as it was, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. So we have a very diverse practice. Although we focus purely on US immigration, we cover all areas of employment-based and family-based immigration. So where we see dips in certain areas, so maybe our tech, automotive teams were slightly down, we had huge growth in some of our other industries or practice areas, like our high skill team, which focuses on researchers, scientists, developers doing these extraordinary ability visas. And so we often see sometimes, there's dips because certain industries may not be as buoyant as they were years prior, but we're able to stay the course because we have such a diverse practice. And so we did certainly see some industries kind of be less busy than they have in the past. The others were, as busy as we've ever seen.
Excellent. And I guess, how much of what you do is within the recruitment and staffing field of clients? Is there a lot of that's coming through more and more at the moment?
For my practice group specifically, over probably the last 18 months to 2 years, it has been the fastest growing area.
Okay.
And anyone that's read any of the numbers, it's mind-boggling how big that recruitment area is. We've worked with companies that just want to get there as soon as possible because the margins are much higher. That the market is so unsaturated in the US with recruitment companies.
Yeah.
And look, I think everyone likes to hear a British accent. So if you can get some key people over to the US from the UK, it's a great icebreaker. And I think that model is just working so well in the US.
I think, I've done the US market for 5 years or so, 6 years now. And the growth of the industry of the staffing industry going over there is unbelievable. Regardless of what size type business they are, everyone is querying kind of how they can get there and what it takes to do it. So the biggest question I'm always asked is, how do I, as a business in London that's, let's just say they're turning over up to 5 million, 10 million. They've started to operate in the US. They haven't got an entity or anything over there. That's kind of in motion. What have they got to do to be able to get E2 capability to sponsor staff to go over there?
Yeah, great question. So we would actually take it a step back from there and say, look, let's break down your immigration journey into short, medium, and long-term options here. So when we start working with a client, we want them to understand, what can you do on an ESTA or a B1 visa versus do you need an E2 or an L visa to be able to work in the US? And so But some of our clients, they say, look, we just need to be able to go there and meet with clients, go to conferences or trade shows, but we really have no desire to have UK boots on the ground in the US. And so we would explore and talk about what are the parameters around traveling on an ESTA, where you're going to start seeing that scrutiny increase, where you may be challenged by Customs and Border Patrol officers upon entry, versus if you're looking at having boots on the ground in the US, what's the most appropriate visa option? And the E2 visa may be that option. So one of the things that always comes up and catches our clients by surprise is how much documentation is required by the US government in order to get either an E2, an L visa, or an O visa. It's just crazy. I mean, that they look for everything. And so if you're looking at any type of visa, particularly an E2 visa, being meticulous about your documentation is important. That documentation is your corporate documentation showing the relationship between your UK or your foreign entity and the US entity and who owns that. And then also, if you're looking at an E2 specifically, that's a visa that's based on showing that you've made a substantial investment into the US entity. So having invoices and corresponding bank transfers to show you've paid for those invoices, anything that furthers the success of the US business can be used. So some of our clients may have, used that far away model where they've operated in the US for a year or 2 years, but really had no boots on the ground. It's taken off and they've got traction, they've got some clients. What expenses went into that business? Have you kept a virtual office? Have you purchased any other equipment? Have you sponsored conferences? Have you purchased any software or programs that you use in the US? And keep meticulous documentation of that. Put it into a separate folder. If you think that you need to go down that E2 route or an L route, those are the types of documents that we're going to ask for, and that's what takes our clients the longest to obtain, because scouring through 6 months or a year's worth of bank statements is pretty difficult, and sometimes you just forget what you've spent as well. And so I would say keeping meticulous documentation and touching base with providers like ourselves, immigration lawyers, early and often, understanding what timelines look like, when you may want to kick stuff off if you have to be in the US by a specific time. We're able to kind of give that guidance and keep you on track and let you know how the lay of the land is at any particular time.
So let's just say you're a recruitment company, and you've got yourself in a position where you're doing a couple of placements in the US, but the owner of the company said, look, we've got a guy that wants to go over there. How long would you say from start to finish it would take for them to kind of get that set up? Let's just say it's the 1st of January. Do you reckon they would be able to get the capability to sponsor and over there within a 6-month period, or would it take probably a lot longer than that?
I always recommend allowing 4 to 6 months to get through that process.
Oh, fine.
So bear that in mind. We have some clients who come to us and say, look, we need people in the US 3 weeks ago, and that's really difficult to work with because we contend with multiple US government agencies, the Department of State, the USCIS sometimes, and then also Customs and Border Patrol and Department of Labor, and we don't have control over their processing times. There are some processes that we can pay a fee and get the case expedited. Most other situations, we cannot do that. So we're just waiting on those particular entities to do their job and review the case.
Right. I think I've seen so 6 months is kind of what I usually say to a lot of businesses. If they've ever asked me, I've said, allow 6 months. So let's just say they've got the capability to sponsor and they've got the, I don't know what the paperwork that allows them to bring more staff on to be able to take an E2 on. When they've got that set up, how long does it take then for them to say, look, we're going to employ this guy to go straight over there? How long have you seen that take? Because I've seen it sometimes can take 4 weeks, from start to finish. Sometimes some firms, and I do feel like they drag it out, and I might get in trouble saying this with their staff, it could take them 3 months to get them an E2. But, I've seen it being done very quickly.
Yeah, it can be. So just in case anyone's listening and isn't aware of the process, for an E visa that's based on a treaty of trade between the host country and the US, the UK does have an E visa, both an E1 and an E2 treaty of trade with the US.
Yeah.
For the first case, you're required to go to the US Embassy and register the company. And that's where you include all of the information about the nationality, the ownership of the US entity, You have to show what investments have been made, or if you're doing an E1, what trades have been made over the past 12 months. You have to document how the business is real and operating, and then also that it's not considered to be a marginal business, meaning a business that's not just going to generate enough living income for that individual to be in the US. So once you've done that, the US Embassy will invite the first applicant for an interview. If they're happy with it, they'll approve and register the company for a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Once that company is registered, you can then send any other UK national employees as a manager, executive, or an essential employee to the US. Now, that second part of the process can be done very quickly because you're not waiting for the US Embassy to invite you for an interview. You have control to be able to schedule an interview, and the applicant will take the packet to the embassy and apply. And so we've been able to get those done anywhere between 2 to 4 or 6 weeks. It really depends on appointment availability.
Yeah.
Late last year, we actually had a recruitment company that reached out to us, and we were able to get somebody in within a week and a half, got the application prepared. Before we send anyone into the embassy, we always have a pre-interview prep call with them.
Yeah.
We walk those clients through what to expect during security, the types of questions they may be asked, how to deal with difficult officers, make sure they've got all the documents they need. So we were able to get that done within about a week and a half and get our applicant through, and they had a successful interview.
I feel like, look, I speak to a lot of recruiters and they get frustrated in some instances. Oh, I'm doing my E2, it's taking ages. Why is it taking so long? And I don't think that's any fault other than, again, hopefully I don't get anyone into trouble of the business that's actually dealing with it, because they can take as long as they need to get the documentation filled out, to give back to the attorneys and lawyers, etc., to get it done. And, I feel like things can be fast tracked, obviously. I'm aware of that. And I've actually done an L1 visa for one of the people that work for me, and it was all done within 12 weeks, from start to finish. But again, it was because the urgency was key. In terms of like and I don't know if it's a question you may be able to answer or give us a rough guide. How much would you say for a company to do the E2 route, do they need to invest in the US to be considered, a company that's investing in the States, that they would look at and think, yeah, we can do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the US Embassy, generally, as a rule of thumb, it's not mandated anywhere, but they typically like to see around $100,000 of invested funds.
Yeah.
We've pushed the boundary a lot with the US Embassy, and we've got cases for recruitment companies specifically approved at around that $50,000 to $60,000 mark of invested funds. And what we really do is want to explain the narrative, because the reality is, for most service-led businesses, you don't need huge capital expenditure to be successful. You need a cell phone, Wi-Fi, maybe an office space, and the ability to travel. You don't need specialist equipment. You don't need huge warehousing space, tooling. And so we create that narrative with the US Embassy and say, look, this is the business. They don't require all these special things. Here's how they're going to be successful. And that narrative gets so much stronger if you've got a couple of clients and we say, look, here's a couple of US clients that they're already invoicing these invoices. We may send 5 to 8 invoices. And if they're healthy, we say, look, this is what they're able to do without having boots on the ground, and take a look at their financials from the foreign entity, as well as just confirmation that they can do this. And we've been really successful with those types of cases.
Yeah.
But again, keeping meticulous documentation is important. Types of evidence that companies may want to look at have you leased an office space, incorporation costs, if you're using any professional services, advisors, consultants.
What if you've hired someone over there and you've put them in, you've paid for a $60,000 salary?
Yeah, that can be used, but only if they're based in the US, and you can only include the salary that's been paid to them at the time of filing the case. So you can't say, hey, we've got a contract for a $60,000 a year employee. We're going to say we've made an investment of $60,000. That's not going to fly. But if you paid them for 2 months, you can prorate that 2 months and show evidence that you've paid them for that. And I think that goes to show you're real and operating. You're not going to hire somebody if you think the business isn't going to be successful there.
Yeah, absolutely. What if, like, for example, PGC, obviously that's how we met anyway, through the PGC event. So I've got to mention them again in this podcast. So let's just say that I've hired someone, and this is just a matter of speaking, $60,000 a year salary in New York. PGC are put them through their employer record. So I'm getting invoiced now through PGC to pay for that bill. to ultimately have a member of staff in the US. Does that count?
Yep, we've used that in the past. Absolutely.
Fine. That's a major, major thing that I don't think companies in the industry are aware of, that that kind of is inclusive. And I feel like there's a whole old school kind of mentality of, oh, you've got to pay for like a website. You've got to make sure you've invested in doing all these little bits and bobs, which some firms struggle to think about how they're going to do. But then sometimes it is kind of a bit more simplified than that. But speaking to someone like yourself can get that, give them that education to make sure they've got it all where it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. And you just don't want to throw away 50, 60 grand just because you have to. Use it wisely. Invest in things you actually need. You may need office space. Can you prepay that up front? Are you looking at hiring someone in the US? Can you bring that forward a little bit and use a company like PGC to offer the employer of record service and the costs that way? Do you need new equipment? Are you going to have a US focused website, and is that a good spend for you to be able to do that? Are you doing any marketing there? Those types of things definitely are important.
Excellent. Fine. Well, look, I wanted to, talk to you about these things and make sure that ultimately, look, if anyone's got any questions, listen to the podcast. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few, that are interested in terms of how the E2 process works, the L process works, or anything else around immigration. And you're looking to, get your staff over to the States and get your business set up so that you can start sponsoring. I know many companies right now are trying to do it and are talking about it, looking into it. There was a hell of a lot of firms at the event that we was at that are interested in it as well. So it's forever growing now. And I feel like as we get into 2024, the industry's picked up so much more, where businesses are getting back to their original plans, and it's a good time to strike. There's a lot of good talent over there that you can work with, and in London, I'm sure there's loads of people that still want to move across. But thank you very much for your time today, and for going through all of this with me. I will make sure that if anyone needs anything, they go straight to you to ask any questions. Any more final notes from yourself?
No, look, we're always happy to speak with anyone. Thank you so much for giving us the time to speak today. I think we've just scratched the surface on some huge topics that people need to be mindful of if they're looking at expanding into the US or operating there. So we're always happy to share our time and our knowledge on a call with any clients that may have questions about this.
Yeah. I mean, look, as I said at the beginning, everything boils down to, what do I have to do to be able to sponsor on an E2 in most cases for a British company? What have I got to do to do an L1, process, and how long does it take? How much is it going to cost me? We've cleared up those points. But again, if anyone has any questions, reach out. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure me and you will be speaking very soon.
Sounds good. Have a great one.
Cheers.